In the last video, I showed you how we can apply array to numbering the seats area in a double-decker bus. In this short video, I will explain to you how to name, access, and modify an array. So let's start with naming arrays. Here in the array we created last video, we have two matrices. Each matrix has 12 columns and 4 rows. So what we can do is we can name those matrices, we can name the columns and the rows. To be able to name an array, we need to use 4 arguments. rnames to name the rows, cnames to name the columns, mnames to name the matrices, and dimnames. So in exercise 1, we will create an array for the double-decker bus seating area and assigning it to trip. So in our array, we have 4 rows, 12 columns, and 2 matrices. We are using the rnames, cnames, and mnames argument to name the rows. So we have 4 rows, 4 names, 12 columns, 12 names, and 2 matrices. So we have upper deck and lower deck. Then we will use the dimnames argument and use the list function to assign those names to our array. Other option as shown here in exercise 2, we can assign the names for the rows, columns, and the matrices first. Then we will create our array. And inside the array function, we will use the dimnames argument here. So if we go to RStudio, first we will create a vector of 4 names and assign it to row names. Then we will create a vector of 12 names and assign it to column names. After that, we will create a vector of 2 names, upper deck and lower deck, and assign it to n name. Now our names they are ready. We will create an array, and inside the array function, we will use the dimnames argument, and we will use the list function to name our array. So if we run it, and as you can see here, we have our upper deck naming it from A to L and our rows from 1 to 4. We have upper deck, lower deck. So now let's move to accessing arrays. To be able to access an array, we need to use the square brackets. When we use the square brackets, the first number is specifying which row or rows you want to access. The second number is specifying which column or columns you want to access, and the third and the last number is specifying which matrix or matrices you want to access. So here in exercise 3, we want to access the first matrix, which is this one, the 6th column, which is this one, and the 4 rows, which is 24. If I want to access the first row and the last row in the both matrices, I will use a vector. And here in the first one, I'm asking R to access from the first to the 4th row and the first and the 12th column and both the first and the second matrix. So let's go to RStudio. And here we have our command. So let's run it. And as we can see here, in our upper deck, it accesses the first and the 12th column. And in our lower deck, it accesses the first and the last column. So we came to the last part, modifying an array. To modify an array, first you need to access the element you need to change. Then you need to reassign a new value to that element. So as an example, I want you to think like you are working in a ticket office and you are selling bus tickets in a double-decker bus. So you have in total 96 tickets you want to sell. So first in line is Mary, and she wants to sit in the first line next to the window in the upper deck. So she wants that seat. So what you need to do first, you need to access that, then assign Mary to it. So here, what we are doing, we are accessing the first matrix, the first column, the first row, and then we are assigning Mary to it. As simple as that. So when you print trip, you can see that Mary is in our array. So she bought the ticket. So here's your ticket, and your seat number is A1 in the upper deck. So that's it for today. Next videos will be about data frame, and by that we will be finishing the basics and we will move on to basic statistical analysis in R.